with Ian Cramer. Ian is a faculty member at Alfred University. He is here today talking about an experience that he had biking across the United States of America. So as we spent yesterday talking about Super Tuesday and politics in America, Ian is talking to us today about traveling and seeing the road literally firsthand, and maybe I should say first feet. Ian, how are you today?
Doing well. Very good.
Great, and thank you for joining us in the studio as well. And you didn't ride your bike here.
No. There was a big hill coming up to the studio. I'm glad I didn't ride my bike.
Yeah, absolutely. For our listeners, Ashball Hill, if you haven't been here, it's a drive.
Yes.
So Ian, tell us a little bit about, how did you even decide to bike across the country?
So I've been a recreational cyclist for about the last 12 years, and I'm 28 years old right now. I've been a competitive cyclist for the last about 5 or 6. I went to undergrad at Alfred University. I went to grad school at Miami University, or also called Miami of Ohio, in Oxford, Ohio, which is southwest Ohio. And while I was there, this particular race called the Race Across America came through Oxford, Ohio, and getting to know many cyclists at that school and in the area, they introduced me to this race probably in about 2011. That's when I first learned about it. And I thought, man, this was cool. I want to do this someday. And when I was actually... I came back to Alfred in 2014 for a job, and it was in about the fall of 2014 when some of my friends from back in Oxford said, hey, we have an opportunity to do this race. Would you like to do it? And I jumped at the opportunity.
Where did you start then?
So the Race Across America is a cross-country bicycle race that goes from West Coast to East Coast. It starts in Oceanside, California, and takes a northeasterly path to Annapolis, Maryland. Okay. And if people are familiar with, let's say, the Tour de France has 21 individual stages. So at let's say 10 o'clock in the morning, the stage starts, and at 6 o'clock at night, the stage may end. The big difference between that and the Race Across America is that it's one continuous stage. It's one, when the gun goes off, and you don't stop. There's no stage end until you reach the East Coast.
Wow. So you decide when you're going to stop for sleeping, food, anything you may need to do.
Exactly. And what I will say is I did not ride the entire 3,200 miles by myself.
Okay.
The race itself is made up of 4 separate divisions, we'll say. The division we were in was a 4-person team. We were a 4-man team, and there's also an 8-man team. There's a solo category of those guys do the whole 3,200 miles by themselves, and then there's a 2-man team. So we did about in the range of 100 to 125 miles per day. For our official time from West Coast to East Coast was 7 days, 16 hours, and 27 minutes.
Does that count then? The times for sleeping, eating, extracurriculars? Does that count that, or is that counting the time on the road?
Yeah, hitting
the pavement.
Right. So the race among the teams, it's a relay.
Okay.
So there's only on our team and the teams of 2, 4, and 8, there's only one racer on his bike on the road at one time.
Okay.
Whereas, so on our team, it was, if I was on the road, the 3 of us were in the follow vehicles following behind.
Great.
And our particular strategy was there was 4 of us. We split our team up into 2 teams of 2, where me and Dustin were a team, Nelson and Lisa were another team, and we split the day up into 2 12-hour chunks. So Dustin and I had from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., and we would trade off about every 20 or 30 minutes. I would ride 30 minutes, hop in the follow vehicle, Dustin would ride 30 minutes, and so that afforded us enough time to get exhausted during the day, but also enough time to rest and recover.
Right. Great. And just keep moving then.
Exactly.
So yes, so
exactly.
It is a continuous 7-day process.
Exactly.
7.5 days,
Yep.
really, and more. Yep. Now, you mentioned first names. Who were your teammates? Did you know them beforehand?
I did. I think I knew all of them, some better than others. Our team captain was a woman named Lisa Brunkhorst, who is a retired nurse in Oxford, Ohio, and she was undoubtedly the team captain. She was the impetus for getting this race across America started. And Dustin Weeda is an architect who lives in Oxford, who works in Cincinnati, very strong cyclist. The fourth teammate was Nelson Gaker, who at the time was a student at Miami, very, very strong cyclist. Now, Lisa, because it was her idea in the first place, she knew she wanted to take on the challenge, and she is a very strong rider for her age, but she acknowledged that I need some very strong competitors or some strong teammates to help out the team. So, what I say that what she lacked in let's say strength, she might have averaged in 75 to 80 miles a day as a 62-year-old woman. She made up for. She contributed a lot of the financial backing for the race because it was expensive, and I really, really appreciate that from her.
Oh, great. Excellent. Well, way to go there, Lisa, and I'm glad she put together a strong team.
Yeah.
Now, so your team, you're pretty much mentioned, captained by a female. What would you say the male to female ratio would be for the whole race?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think we were not the only mixed team. There was absolutely, I'm thinking back to the website, the RAM website, there was a mixed category of men's and women's teams. I would say that probably half of the teams were made up of men and women, and half were strictly men or half were strictly women.
Okay.
There were several teams who were strictly women. I know there was a team from Australia who were all women. They beat us. They were very successful. They were very fast. So there are a lot of mixed teams and a lot of men and women racing.
Now, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
The bicycle.
Sure.
What bicycle or number of bicycles, what do you have? Is there a brand that you prefer, that you ride?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, and this is a good story. At the time, I rode what's called an Aerocat. An Aerocat is just like a brand like Trek or Cannondale. Mm-hmm. They're a brand out of East Central Indiana, and I had been riding that for a while. They had custom painted an Aerocat frame for the race across America, and I was super excited to ride it. During my training, and I put in about 2,000 miles a month between in April and also in May. This was early May. I was riding up about kind of near Ontario, New York, up near Rochester with a buddy, a triathlon buddy, and a very rural, very wooded area. A deer comes bounding out of the woods, and as we're going 30 miles an hour on a downhill, misses him by a foot, and I smash into the deer. I couldn't have hit him more square in the abdomen.
Oh.
The bike, that Aerocat brand new frame that I was riding, split in half. Oh. And so I needed to locate a new bike, and I got a new bike in about a week. It was a different brand, but I was back on the road. And then during the race itself, in about central Kansas, my bike fell off of a bike rack on the back of a vehicle, and it cracked the frame again. And so I needed to use a teammate's bike to finish out the race. But the race hands you challenges like this, and we did a very good job at overcoming them.
Excellent. That is a great story.
It was quite an adventure.
Wow. Now, so as we're talking about this too, then, I mean, I had a job where I traveled for a number of years, and as much as that sounded glamorous, you were in and out of towns and you were working.
Yeah.
This is, to me, even worse, that you're not even in and out of towns. You're speeding through them.
Right.
So did you get to experience much or see much? I know it sounds like maybe even 75% of the time you were able to be riding and resting.
Right. Well, we were fortunate enough to make like a 3-day road trip from Southwest Ohio to Oceanside. We road tripped it out. We didn't fly. So that was really great in that we could experience each state. We could look out the window, take pictures. We stopped pretty regularly to talk to people along the way. So that was a great way to see the country driving. But while we were riding, we really were able to see, take our time and look around and see the countryside. I have, if I can plug my YouTube channel.
Please.
It's at Plant-Based Cyclist, where I have many, many summary videos of the race across America itself. We have one where it's from Ohio to California of the drive, and then a separate summary video of the actual race from Oceanside to Annapolis, and there was really through Southern California into Arizona and Utah and even a lot of Colorado. It's a very beautiful country.
Excellent. Well, this is great. Let's take it a little farther back. This is going to go way real back.
Sure.
When did you learn how to ride a bicycle?
Man, so I can see myself in the side yard with my dad. I think I was about 5 or 6 years old. I can see my first bike. It was
Great.
a red frame with kind of foam spongy tires. And the reason why I remember it was around 5 or 6 was because when I was 6, my first ever major injury I had was I broke my lower leg, my tibia. I rode up this big mound of hay that my dad had in the side yard, and I came down the other side, foot slipped off the pedal, went through the frame, and basically got crunched, and I broke my leg. So that was the first injury I ever had, and yeah, I've been riding ever since.
Well, and speaking of injuries, and obviously you're working out, you're cycling, and you work in the athletic training department,
yes,
a part of the College of Professional Studies at Alfred University. So that's kind of built into your mentality and your interests right away.
Absolutely, absolutely. Injuries and preventing injuries, treating injuries. And I will say, other than the incident with the deer, which I was really lucky. I said to Dustin, my teammate, I said, if you take this situation 100 times, 99 times out of 100, someone's going to break a bone. I was super lucky not to break a bone. I had a lot of road rash, but I knew how to treat it, and we really didn't have any injuries as a team throughout the race, and we were very fortunate.
Again, talking with Ian Cramer today from the Race Across America. Tell me the website again.
Google Race Across America or RAM. That's RAM. And you'll be able to find the website very easily.
Excellent. Can you plug again your YouTube?
Sure. My YouTube page is Plant-Based Cyclist. I also have a Facebook page at Plant-Based Cyclist. I'm on Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat as well.
Excellent. So, plant-based cyclist.
I claim to be a whole foods plant-based diet. That's my diet. And over the years, my philosophies on nutrition have changed in that if you would have stopped me in 2011 or 2012 when I first started this dietary change, I did call myself a vegan. However, I want to be completely honest and transparent with people and myself and say that 99.9% of the calories I eat come from plant sources.
Okay.
But if we're out at a restaurant, I get a marinara dish and spaghetti. If the cook happens to sprinkle Parmesan cheese on top, I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to send it back. My point is that 99.9% of the calories I eat are coming from whole plant foods, and that's what makes me feel good inside physically. That's what makes me feel good mentally and emotionally about, hey, I'd rather pet a cow or a pig than eat it. And it really serves me very well in athletic pursuits in that I heal much, much quicker. I recover much, much quicker. I've been on this now for 6 years. I've never, ever had an overuse injury, like a deficiency in protein. It's never happened. It just works so well for me. And more athletes these days, collegiate professional athletes, are going down that road of eating less animal products in favor of more plant products because they simply work with the body much better and more efficiently.
Let me ask you one more question.
Yeah.
When you're out on the road, you've got what? Water? What are you using to keep going?
Yeah, so the fuel during the race.
Yes, the fuel, absolutely.
Yeah, so when you're burning upwards of 5,000 or 6,000 calories a day while riding 100 to 130 miles, nutrients don't matter that much. It's calories. So I certainly made some different choices out on the road. Like I didn't really eat a whole lot of spinach. I didn't really eat a whole lot of broccoli because it's not very calorie dense. So some of our staples, my staples out on the road were white rice, either a whole wheat or just a regular pasta or spaghetti. It could have been, we also ate a lot of potatoes.
Okay.
During the ride, it was drinking a lot of water, drinking a lot of Gatorade to avoid cramping. And my go-to snack, I remember, was homemade granola bars that were oat-based granola bars with honey and maple syrup as the binder. and a store-bought treat was Nutella, which is not plant-based, I will admit.
Sure.
A big smear of Nutella on a Fig Newton.
Oh,
So good. So good. So there, I certainly, quote unquote, cheated along the way, but
That's not cheating, certainly.
But, we were burning a lot of calories, but we really had no problem getting enough calories in. But, we were getting about 5 hours of sleep a night. So by the time we reached Indiana, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, we were dragging. So we were, this race was certainly the right amount of time. And, calories and food, it was whatever tasted good and sat well in your stomach. That was the basic rules.
Let me also ask, I said final question before, but would you do this again?
I would. And Dustin and I, who was kind of my immediate teammate who I rode with most of the way, we rode probably the last 30 miles of our particular shift. This was somewhere, I want to say, in Maryland as we were reaching Annapolis. And we kind of turned to each other and said, would you do this again? And we kind of both said yes. We thought we would do it together because we were feeling so good on day 7 that we thought we put in a little bit more training and we planned this a little bit better. We could absolutely do this again as a 2-person team.
Right. Great.
I think as a solo, I think they're nuts. I rode with a buddy in Atlanta who did it solo when we did it, and is doing it again. Eric Newsom, I'll give a shout out to him. He's doing it again this year because last year he made it to Indiana and he dropped out.
Oh, wow.
And I passed him on the road, and I feel bad, but he gave it his all, and he's going to do a lot better this year. I would not do it solo. I think it's too dangerous. Mm-hmm. And as a cautionary tale, several years ago, there was a rider who he fell asleep while he was on the bike and crossed the middle line, and he got hit by a truck and died. So there is risk in doing it solo, and I'm not willing to take that risk. But
sure.
Doing it a 2-man team, it's very challenging, but it's within reach.
Wonderful. Ian Cramer here on the 1480 Club. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.